What up? What up? What up? It's your man Sean P coming in live. We are right back in the driver's seat at the Sean P Experience. I have a very vital show. Matter of fact, out of all the shows I've done, this could be in the top ranking of the most important because today's subject matter is something that we all deal with and experience in life. And these are some of the tools and suggestions to get us through the element of grief in life. I have a special guest, Dr. Kimberly Smith Dauterive, right? I love my local Louisiana authors. Let me highlight that. I'm blessed to have a lot of national authors and stuff like that, but I do love another somebody from my neck of the woods on the show, somebody from my stomping grounds. They can relate to where I'm from. So I love to highlight my local authors. I have her book, Escaping the Chains of Grief. This beautiful, wonderful publication. It's the hardback edition, nice gloss to it. Very, very great read. 5 stars. I loved it. I have notations all throughout this book, and today we're going to get into it with the author. Let me give her a proper introduction. Now she has a amazing about the author section in here, about 3, 4, 5 pages long. We ain't gonna do all of it, but Dr. Kimberly Smith, she is a board certified internal medicine physician. She was born in Washington, D.C., but grew up right here in St. Martinville, Louisiana, right? Graduated from St. Martinville Senior High. She has a Bachelor of Science degree from Tulane University in New Orleans, a master degree at right here in UL, Lafayette, and a doctoral medicine degree from Louisiana State University Health Science Center in New Orleans. She is the owner of JKL Health Services, a private medical practice in New Iberia, Louisiana, providing exemplary personalized health care to patients using both allopathic and holistic medicine to meet her patients' needs, right? Her motto is healing the mind, body, spirit. She's the co-owner of Total Health and Wellness and PKD, Housing Rentals, LLC, and co-founder of Philip Papadotri the Third Foundation, created in honor of her 9-year-old son, who was tragically taken from her and her family. I give to you, Dr. Kimberly Smith Dotry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Sean. I really appreciate it. And
Yes,
thank you
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and giving me
Yes,
the
yes.
5 stars. I appreciate it.
Come on now. Yes, 5 stars in the building. I don't throw it around lightly. I don't give it to everybody. So take the 5 stars as a serious deal, right?
Yeah.
My first question for you, being from where I'm from, I try to always explain to my national friends the environment here where we are. It's
Mhm.
not Chicago, it's not Philadelphia, New York, Cali, it's not like that. So what or who sparked you to say, you know what? I want to be a writer. 'Cause we don't have artists walking around just any given place you go, you coming across writers and all of these book signings and meet and greets and stuff. We don't have that kind of a culture here. So
Mhm.
what sparked you to be a writer?
Well, I can tell you it was not on my to-do list at all. But when my son passed, it threw me into a completely different realm. Um, a realm that I did not expect to be in. However, um, a lot I learned in my grief journey. And the grief journey is an ongoing journey. But as I was going through and realizing that a lot of the things that I thought I had control over, because I had never really grieved before in my life. Now, understand, I had lost my mom before, my grandmother. My husband and I actually had the loss of a child before, but I was about 22 weeks pregnant at the time. But in my mind, I've been saved since I was 12 years old, right? And I've had a very strong relationship with God. Every time things have happened in my life, I've always felt like, okay, God allowed it to happen. It happened for a reason. Everything that has happened to me has become a ministry. I've been able to speak into people's lives and help people, but I was shattered and not being able, not wanting to get out the bed, not wanting to do anything from day to day. What ended up happening is just I had an encounter with God one night, and it was that encounter that got me moving. And as I was moving from day to day, God kept dropping nuggets on me, dropping nuggets. And I started sharing those things on Facebook. And what really happened is there's another lady who lost her child. And when she lost her child, I went, I don't know why, I went on to comfort her, but I normally don't read comments because I try to stay clear, steer clear of it. But I read, for whatever reason, I think it was just a divine moment. But things like you need to pray more, you need to go to church more. And as I was reading it, I could feel myself just fuming and burning up inside because I'm thinking like that has nothing to do with this. She lost her child. You can read your Bible all day, all night. It's not going to stop you from losing your child. So I started posting things, trying to help people to better understand what it means to really grieve and what it means to feel like you can't even breathe at times because you feel that shattered. And how so many things that we have been doing when it comes to grief made no sense at all. And as I kept writing things, it started off with a little bitty paragraph. And then it started to be mornings when the Lord gave me a longer paragraph. And then it was, so someone actually, my cousin, she said, you need to put this in a book. And I'm thinking, I don't think so. But then God just kept on bringing it back until finally I actually did start writing some things down and thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this because he keeps putting it on my heart for a purpose. So I put it down and I just did what God kept pushing me to do. So there you have it.
Let me know for your own grieving process. What was it like? Because grieving is a total personal thing. Whether a family member, a child, is personal. To
That's right.
expose yourself to write it, and now you're doing these author talks. We're doing it right now. Author talks. You're doing book signings. People inboxing you. What was it like for your process to write it out, get it out, talk
So,
about it?
so that was a key point. Let me tell you what happened. One day, people try their very best to be supportive, right? Um, I I've been, like I said, I've been saved since I was 12. I found myself wanting to avoid people because I knew people were trying to be helpful and supportive, but every time somebody would come and talk to me, I would feel worse. So people would come and say, God doesn't make mistakes. God must have needed an angel. Saying those things did not make me feel better at all. I felt worse. And I can remember this lady coming. Well, she sees me across the way, and I know she spots me, and look, she does she puts her head to the side, and I'm thinking to myself, in my mind, I said, Lord, if that lady says you needed an angel, I'm a throat puncher. Literally, I thought that in my mind. And now I'm grieved. Now I'm grieved because I'm like, God, why am I being so ugly and nasty when I know people are just trying to be helpful? So this was the night. Look, I was on that floor crying. Look, I having a whole adult temper tantrum. And I couldn't hold it in anymore. People tell you you shouldn't question God. Well, that night I couldn't hold it in anymore because I was so weak and so shattered that it was going to be what it was going to be. So I said, why? Why my child, Lord? And let me tell you, I went as far as to say they got so many people who don't even watch their children. Poor babies walking around the stores unattended. I'm following them, baby. Where your mama at? I'm the grizzly mama bear. I'm watching, I'm hovering. Why my child? And it was that night that God started dropping things on me. First thing was, where in the Bible does it say you're not supposed to question me? If you don't ask me, how are you going to know? He gave me, like, people like to say, God never gives you more than you can bear. Where does it say that at? That is not a thing in the Bible. But we probably will have more than we can bear, because when we have more than we can bear, that's when we learn to really lean and depend on God. And it was from there that I started realizing that, the more I talked about it, the more I cried it out. Because that night I cried it out. Let me tell you, I cried like the deepest, darkest places that were in my spirit. I cried all of that out, and I got every ounce of that disgusting grief that I was feeling out of my system that night. And it was crazy because I felt lighter. It was weird. It was a whole weird experience. Like, okay, like why? Well, I shouldn't feel better. Like I should, you know. But it was the revelation was, I have been holding it in for so long. It becomes a weight, a whole anchor. So the more we hold in our emotions, the more we refuse to express it, the more we don't cry because we don't want other people to feel uncomfortable, the more we refuse to acknowledge how we feel, the heavier the weight becomes. And the heavier the weight becomes, the more you start to drag, the more you get stuck in the past, anchored to those things in the past, anchored to every loss, anchored to every single hurt you felt. But if you're anchored in the past, you can't move forward. You can't move forward. So from that night, I started realizing, okay, if I start to feel that horrible feeling, or not if, when I start to feel that horrible feeling, I automatically knew I need to cry it out. I need to get it out my system. I need to say what needs to be said, and I would feel better. And I did this at first a few times a day, crying it out, talking it out. Just look, I'm talking to God. I don't understand, Lord, why my baby, my sweet baby, my the one who is loving and kind. Then it turned into maybe once a day. Then it turned into a couple of times a week. The more I call it the purge. The more I purge my emotions, the farther apart the purges got. So now I'm at a point where I still cry. And if I feel bad, I'm crying. Wherever I am, I'm crying. Because my motto now is, if my grief makes you uncomfortable, that's your business, not mine. But I refuse to hide or pretend so that other people don't feel uncomfortable. So the more I started talking, the better I felt. And then God also laid something else on me. Like one day he was like, you keep on focusing on the bad. You keep on focusing on the loss. Like you don't have thousands of memories that are beautiful and wonderful. Why do you keep focusing on that bad thing? It's the way the devil gets us. It's the way the devil robs us of our whole entire life, our purpose, our joy, our peace, because he keeps us focused on what we lost. So now I'm like, okay, God. So every time I purge now, then I have a wonderful memory that I'm going to end my day with. I'm going to think about my baby boy dancing. I'm going to think about him cutting up. I'm going to think about him on his hoverboard, because I told him, I said, look, you can ride the hoverboard, but just please protect your head. So he's riding, and he fell, but I can't see him. Now I'm holding my breath, and all of a sudden I heard, I'm all right, Mom. I protected my head. Look, I bring up all of those wonderful memories. I chased the that shattered feeling away, because God made me realize that this is a trick of the devil. The enemy wants us to be stuck. The devil doesn't want us to have a purposeful life, a full life, for us to live to our full potential. He wants us to stay stuck in our grief, because if we are stuck, then everybody around us pretty much is stuck as well, right? Because it's not even just me. I have other children. It was another thing that I learned. It was, okay, so is Papa more important than my other children? And I'm like, well, no, he's not. But this hurts. But your other children are hurting too. They lost him, but they lost you too. And I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't do that anymore to my children. And it was rough. We didn't celebrate holidays, I think, for 2 or 3 years. I think we didn't celebrate the first holiday we really celebrated, I think, was the third Christmas following. And we were last minute putting up the tree because I'm like, okay, we gotta do it. Me and my husband, like Christmas Eve, I think it was, putting the tree up and putting decorations. Look, I'm crying. Um, but again, I had to purge and get it out. But and Christmas Day was a beautiful day because it was nice having my kids home. It was nice hearing the laughter. Because Lord, let me tell you, it's quiet. The quiet is so loud. And let me tell you, Sean, I am an only child. I used to joke all the time saying, I can't wait till y'all grown so I can have my space. Now I'm like, when y'all coming? When y'all come and visit? But the more I talk about him, the more I continue to allow his spirit to live on. And that's another thing. I don't want his spirit to die. He was kind. He was somebody who would talk to everybody. Like in my mind, this boy was going to be the bridge between the rich and the poor, black and white, people from all walks of life, because he loved on everybody. And I'm telling you, we're in the airport. No matter where we went, we knew he was going to have time to talk to somebody. He had friends everywhere. No, we didn't know them people at all, but he come, Mama, look, my friend. We want to carry on that spirit of love, of empowering others, of lifting them up and enriching their lives. And that's what I want to do. I think that so many people have been grieved for so long, Sean. I want to break them out of the prison, because I think we're born into these prisons. We don't even know we're in the prison because everybody is there and everybody is comfortably there. But we're not meant to stay in those prisons. We're not supposed to stay stuck. So want to move on. I want to help them to break the chains and look. And then we're in a prison and there's no lock on the door. All you got to do is open the door and walk out. So I want to do that. I want to help them to break free so that they can understand that we all have to deal with death, but that cannot be the rest of our life. We still are here because we were created for a purpose, right?
You
So
mentioned words like anchor and weight previously. You just said prisons, things of that nature. So the title, escaping the chains, the chains. Why the chains? And talk about that bondage. Talk about that.
because and it chains, because we think about grief mainly when it comes to the death of a loved one, right? But grief can be caused by any loss. We experience as people over 40 different losses in our lifetime that can cause grief. So the chains are those 40 plus things that can lead to, and I mean things like you had a friend to backstab you, you had your boyfriend cheated, or your girlfriend cheated, or your best friend told your deepest, darkest secret, your parents verbally or physically abused you, somebody betrayed your trust, marriage and divorce. We think about divorce all the time, but sometimes for people, marriage, that can be the source of grief because you've left your single life. You had all of these great, great thoughts of the fairy tale marriage, and come to find out, marriage takes work. And so there are some people who find themselves in marriages where they are just not happy. Moving. You have children who graduate from high school and they go to college and they're grieved because they had to leave their parents. There are so many different things that can lead to grief. The problem is people don't see those things as causes of grief. They just say that's life. One of the biggest tragedies is the way parents will handle their children. So, yeah, your 12-year-old or 14-year-old is in love. They break up. they're brokenhearted, they're crying. And what do parents typically say? You don't even know what love is. No compassion. I mean, no empathy. But it is a big deal to them. And especially in this day and age where so many of these kids, they are dependent upon the opinions of their peers. They care what people think. They don't want to be rejected. They don't want to be left out. Those are sources of grief. But if parents don't understand that, and if they're not paying attention to that, it could lead to a horrible end. But all of those things, every last one of those losses, those are chains. And they're chains that bind us. They keep us in bondage. They keep us from living the best life that we are created to live. These are chains that keep us stuck. And whenever the hurt happened, that's where you're stuck. So imagine you're stuck in 1989 when your boyfriend betrayed you, or you're stuck in 1995 when you were supposed to get the promotion, but they overlooked you because of your race or your skin or your gender. All of these things, but they keep us in bondage. And I think that each one of them become anchors because they weigh us down. Or maybe another way to look at it too is a suitcase that is so full. Every loss that you have experienced, it gets packed in this suitcase. Yes, and it's a suitcase that's about to burst at the seams because there's so much stuff in it. And guess what? All it takes is one more thing to bring you to your knees and just make you want to give up. We have to be able to encounter the grief and not pack it away. We want to unpack those things so we can be lighter, so we can truly move forward and live the purposeful life that we're meant to live. Because no matter what, God created us all for a purpose. For a purpose, we are all here. And if we don't live to our full potential, man, we're not going to impact the lives that we were created to impact. So I look at it as we're all part of a big puzzle, right? God is the master. He has the master plan. Every puzzle piece, we each represent a puzzle piece, but we each have to do our part to make the full puzzle. If I'm not there to do my part, then it will always be incomplete. So to me, if I stayed stuck, it did keep going over and over in my mind. Whose life am I meant to impact that I will not impact if I stay stuck back here? And that too comes from my son because, like, it's been 5 years. I still have people today coming and saying, your son did blah, blah, blah for my son or my daughter. And they still think about him and they still remember how nice he was, how helpful he was. We're all meant to live lives like that. But if we don't do our part, how many lives will not get impacted? And then think about this. I'm meant to impact, let's say, 100 lives. Those 100 lives are meant to impact hundreds of lives. And on, that's right. So if I don't impact them, then they never impact those lives either. So it's just a huge fail for us to just give up. But again, it's what the enemy wants us to do, to keep us stuck in a rut, on a hamster wheel, right? Going around and round and round in circle. Oh, but he's gone. Oh, but why did it have to happen so much? I could say it over and over and over again. It won't turn back the hands of time. And I feel like the longer I stayed stuck in a rut, the more the devil could brag. Look, I got her. Oh, look, you see, look again, she crying. Oh, look, I knew I could get her. Look, all I need to do is just bring up the memory. Oh, she thought she was going to talk to those people, but I'm gonna get her. We can't let the devil win like that. And my other thing too is when you think about being in that prison, Why do we stay? Why would we want to stay in a prison that we're not meant to be in the first place? You know, we stay in those prisons because that's what everybody else has done. We watch mama and daddy do it. We watch mama and papa do it. We watch society as a whole. That's how everybody does it. Who am I to not do it the same way? Well, you are the unique being that God created. Jeremiah 1 and 5 says, before you were born, mm-mm, before you were formed, I knew you. And before you were born, I set you apart. But before you were even formed, he knew us. And when he formed us, he created us for a purpose. So we are set apart. We're meant to be set apart. We're not meant to stay stuck in the same place. And you never know. If you take the step, if you muster up the courage to just walk out the prison, how many people might walk out the prison with you and say, you know what? Because I'm gonna tell you, I had so many people after that. I went on and I started doing like I'll do some Facebook lives or I'll put videos out. And I had so many people who would come and tell me, thank you for sharing that because I never thought of it like that. I didn't realize, saying God needed an angel was a painful thing, because we just repeat the things that we've heard. So even people who really haven't had the experience of grief yet, at least they're also learning how to handle people who are grieving. So we're breaking all of those chains, the chains of tired old traditions, negatively inherited mindsets, and past hurts. We have to break those chains.
So speaking of how we relate to people that are grieving, let's talk about the impact that grief have on relationships. You
Mm,
mentioned your children, your other children earlier, but even your husband that was still here, he had injuries and whatnot. He said in the book, but like grief can impact relationships,
oh, definitely.
and some couples go through a loss and they never recover after a certain particular grief because one spouse feel like the other spouse didn't support them like they needed it,
Yep.
or the other person wasn't aware of whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
think about the impact on relationships that grief can have.
So I want to say, when I think about my husband and myself, I am a single child. An only child, and I was raised by my mom. It was just me and my mom. So I learned how to be independent early on. I dealt with most things by myself. She worked, she was a provider. So I was by myself dealing with school things. Your friends turn their backs on you, they lied on you, all of those things. But a lot of these things I am in my house dealing with by myself because I'm alone. I have learned how we are molded by the things that we've experienced in our lives and how we were allowed to deal with it. That's who we are as an adult. We are the product of everything that has happened to us and how we were allowed to express that. So, my husband, on the other hand, grew up with mama, daddy, a sister. I clown all the time. I say he probably had the white picket fence and a dog, what we consider like the all American family. So, he's always dealt with stuff with his family. So when our son passed, I wanted to hide in my room. I didn't want company, leave me be. And I tell people all the time, they better be glad Philip was here because it would have been Fort Knox up in here. They would have to call the folks to come open up my door. Philip needed the company. So what we ended up having to do is in the morning, I would help him, get dressed and everything. And he would come in the front. I would leave the front door open so he could have all of the company he wanted. And I could be in my room away from the company because I couldn't deal with the company. But we had to have respect for one another and how each one grieved. Because you have a right to feel how you feel. You can't expect somebody else to grieve the way you're grieving. And it might be a difficult thing trying to figure out, okay, how do I help the griever? So what I tell people is just be there. I mean, we have, and it has to be on both sides, but I have to tell you, like when you're grieving, you don't have regard for other folks. Let me tell you, I have a tribe that, thank God for my tribe, because even though I wanted to be in my room just closed up, them women were like, ah, nah, ma'am, we ain't, so they showing up. I don't feel like they're not gonna talk, but they are there helping, cleaning, making sure we have food. And that's a big thing. If you just show up for your people, and it's hard sometimes when you ask, okay, just let me know what I can do. Cause man, I would have never asked for anybody to do anything for me. I would have withered away in that room. But you know things need to be done. You could just do those things. And now I'm sharing stuff from the other side of it now, because I was not like that before. Before Papa, I was the one who was like, let me know if you need something. Girl, God got you. I'm praying for you, doing all of the traditional things. But one of the things, you bringing up the relationships, I have a lot of people who tell me, I'm so glad y'all still together, because I know so many people who have suffered the loss of a child and they did not make it. Yeah, because it's such a painful thing. And if you're not aware of what the other person is going through, then it could be the destruction of the marriage. Now, let's say for example, like when I lost my mom, my husband was there for me. Still, I deal with things by myself, but I have to appreciate the fact that he was there. He didn't crowd me. But I'm also a very outspoken person, so I'm gonna say, look, I need my space. A lot of times people are grieving, but they want you to be mind readers, and it's not a fair thing for the other person. So for people who are grieving, we have to be mindful that nobody can read our minds. They don't know what we need unless we say. And we have to be able to give a good amount of grace for people who are trying to just be there for us. And then if you're on the other side of it and you're just trying to give help, just do whatever you see needs to be done. Don't ask, do you want me to sweep? You no, just whatever you see needs to be done, you just do it.
Relationship wise, you and I spoke on this yesterday in our pre-conversation, but like grief is one of the things in a relationship you can't really sit down ahead of time and say, look, babe, whenever you're going through something, what should I do? If this was to occur, what's the best way to go about? Because that person don't even know. If that is happening,
Exactly.
they don't even know what they need.
Exactly.
But you can't really say, well, tell me if you need something. They don't even know what they need.
Nope, they don't know it. And it's
They, they,
different.
they, they can't give you the love language of
Yes. Mm-mm.
communicate like this with me
They
to get
sure
to
can.
my heart.
They
Can't.
sure can. And it's different every time. So my mom passed. Well, first I was pregnant. At 22 weeks, we lost Mallory. So that was one kind of grief. Then my mom passed. That was a different kind of grief. They didn't look the same at all. Papa passing was a completely different grief. So, no, there is no preparation. You can't tell somebody ahead of time, look, okay, when it happens, because it's going to happen, I'm going to need this, because it's just a step by step, day by day, second by second thing for most people. But it's like I said, it's each party having that grace for the other person, and just if you're grieving, you need to try to be as honest and open as you can. And if somebody is doing something that feels hurtful, or you feel like they're not doing enough, especially people we love, we need to give them the grace to say, okay, I really wish you would do blah blah blah. I really would appreciate it if you would do blah blah blah. Don't let grief just rob you of more than it's already taken away from you. So I am also an advanced grief recovery method specialist. And the program itself was the turnaround, um, Lord, a divine find for me. The man that started the program, he and his wife, they lost their child. His way of coping was for him to go work all the time. He said he could not stand the silence. He said it was horrible. It was too excruciating. So he had to just keep working. His wife, on the other hand, she stayed in bed all day long. He was thinking, how can you stay in that house? Like everything reminds me of our baby. How can you just stay in out? And she's thinking, how do you not care? How are you just working? And they ultimately ended up divorcing. And it was not until later on, after he actually wrote the book, that they talked about it and realized how they were not upfront about how they felt. And that's the thing. We have to be able to acknowledge how we feel and why we're doing certain things. You know, Again, nobody can read your mind, but the only way relationships are going to be able to survive is if you are truthful. Which brings me to these, the myths. Like, people will say, you got to be strong for your kids. Hell, if how am I be strong for my children if I can't be strong for me? You can't be strong for anybody else while you yourself are withering away. Because all that does is it really stunts your growth and it weakens you to a point that you may have trouble recovering from it completely. And it ends up messing up relationships because they're going to be thriving and moving on. And now you're going to be resentful when you are the one who did it. So we have to be able to make sure that we're preserving the things that we still have. The loss of a loved one is hard, but we have so many other loved ones. I mean, if you have been blessed to have relationships, you have other children, you have a spouse or a partner, you have aunts and uncles and cousins, friends, you have all kinds of other relationships that still need you and still want you. You don't want all of those relationships to die because of one loss. And that could be anything, not just the loss of a loved one. You get demoted, so you lose, your financial standing. Maybe you might lose your house or your car, and now you're standoffish, you're hiding, you're grieving, you're not talking to your friends anymore. And what all because we just don't want to acknowledge, I'm hurting, I need help. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all with acknowledging how you feel, because you have a right to feel how you feel. Nobody has the right to tell you, oh, you shouldn't feel like that, or don't say that. And that's another thing. You need to be able to express feelings, because that's what grief is. Grief is unresolved or unexpressed emotions that are just sitting inside, wreaking havoc. Emotions are meant to be expressed. Emotions are energy in motion. It needs to move. If you have it trapped inside, it's wreaking havoc. So I thought, I was trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to explain it? A pinball machine. The ball is the emotion. So you pull the lever, whatever happened, happened. Now it's in there, ding, 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 hitting all. It's hitting up here, is messing with your brain. It's making you forgetful. You can't sleep. You're crying. You're depressed. You're anxious. You're frustrated. Then it gets your heart. You start having chest pain and shortness of breath. The lungs. It's hitting all of these internal organs, because that's what stress does. When you allow stress to just settle inside, it will weaken your organs. And listen, there is a medical issue, a medical syndrome called Takotsubo syndrome. Broken heart syndrome is the layman's term version of it. But stress alone causing your heart to fail. That's how serious stress is. And that's what happens with people who grieve. When you just let it sit in here, it's wreaking havoc. So you're talking about high blood pressure, your sugar's out of control. Mental health is just, you need this medicine, that medicine. Um, those are things that if you just express it, get it out of your system, purge. And when I say purge, I mean you either need to verbalize it or you need to write it down. But it's not the cutesy, version. You need to say it or write it how you feel. The raw and uncut version, because it is what it is. And once you get it out of your system, then you're good. I find that a lot of my clients, they want to write it nice. And I tell them, you do realize God already know how you feel, right? Like just because you're not writing it don't mean he don't know. You might as well, he knows you thought it already. You might as well write it down. But when you are honest about how you feel and you get it out of your system, you're gonna feel lighter, and that emotion does not have you in a bind or have them chains wrapped around.
Let's speak on that writing part, right? This is my favorite part of books like this. The reflection piece. In the end of the chapters, you have spaces in here, you asking questions, and they have a lot of space to write. My book is full of this stuff. Even outside of this, I'm writing all over the margins, right?
Yeah.
But even the books that I write in the self-help genre, I love those writing spaces because I want my readers to interact with the
Yeah.
material. Tell us the importance for you of having that in this book.
Well, like I told you, one of the things that God told me or showed me was that I have to be able to express what I feel. The thing that keeps most people in chains is their inability to express how they feel, because we've been taught for so long to look, keep those emotions in check, right? Watch how you're acting. Don't say that. Oh, I can't believe you said that. That's not nice. When really and truly, our feelings are ours. We have to own it. If you are able to write it down or verbalize it in a safe space, and when I say a safe space, I mean with a counselor or a psychiatrist, psychologist, a trusted friend that you know, or family member that you know will not tell your business to anybody, or I have perfected the art of talking to myself in the mirror. I just go look in the mirror. Look, I can't believe. Look, I'm up in that mirror like I can't believe the nerve and some choice words. However I'm feeling it is coming out. But you have to be able to express what you feel. And what my hope is after each chapter, I want people to be able to think about how what I've written relates to them and things that have happened in their life. And this is the motivation for them to, or the inspiration for them to start writing, for them to know it's okay for you to feel like that. You just need to get that out of your system so that it's not holding you hostage. Because the longer it stays inside, the more you are held hostage by those emotions. So it's really important to get those emotions out. It's important for you to be able to read each chapter and then take whatever part of it made you remember something that happened in your life, made you remember the way something made you feel, and start getting it out of your system, because that is the beginning. Getting it out of your system is the beginning. And it's not the thing that happened to you that's the problem, it's how it made you feel. That's what the problem is. The problem is how it made you feel. So when I say purge, I'm not getting rid of Papa. Papa is forever, forever and ever a part of me until I see him again in the heavenly places. But for right now, I don't want the nasty emotions. I don't want to feel shattered every day. I don't want to feel crushed. I don't want to feel hopeless. And as long as I was holding those emotions inside, that's how I felt. I tell you, I could leave my house and drive to work, and I would park some days and think, Lord, I don't even remember how I got here. And I'm thinking, like, Lord, I hope I didn't pass up the traffic light. I hope I didn't, Lord, put nobody in danger. Because literally, I could not remember getting to work. And that's what happens. That grief will preoccupy every thought. You're gonna get forgetful. People are not going to want to be around you because it's like you're just exuding the nastiness, but those deep roots that emotion is digging, you can't even control it because the longer it's inside, the more it takes control of who you are. So you have to dig it up. You have to write it down or you have to verbalize it, whatever is most comfortable for you. But the more you write, I promise you, once you start writing and you realize how much lighter you feel after, you're not going to want to stop. That is a very big key, a very big key. And the more you verbalize and write, the more you start to uproot the grief. Yes, and the more you start to remember. Look, I had a lady who took my class one time. She took the class for her friend because her friend was afraid to do it on her own, but her friend really needed it, so she just did it like, I'm coming to support my friend. She, at the end of it, she said, I cannot believe all of the stuff that was still, yes, still coming up. Because literally we are molded by every painful situation that has happened in our lives. It's funny how those negative things leave such a lasting imprint on us, right? But if we don't allow it to dig roots, we don't want the roots. We got to just uproot and get rid of it. Don't let it sit in here. So the writing is for them to start thinking about it. And if you're like me, because you see, I think faster than I can write. That's how come I gotta
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I
gotta get.
wanna I wanna get some on air props right now. My sister, she's in the building. Sister Tawana, your right hand, if you will.
Oh yes, my
I want to
right.
say it on the air. I said it to her in private. I said it to you. I'm gonna say it on the air for the public. Now I'm blessed to work with some high level authors of different kinds. You're dealing with agents, you're dealing with publicists, and all these other people that's a part of that machine. Sister Tawana is amongst the best people I've ever worked with in communication. I'm talking 2 in the morning. I'm talking 4 in the morning. If I say, "Do you have one of these?" Bam.
She
Do
got
you have something like this? Bam. Oh, she's so fast and quick. So tell me what's it like having a person like that in your life, on your team. A lot of us are entrepreneurs. We're doing everything ourselves. I told you yesterday on private, I said, if I had enough money, I'd take it from you. I take I
it'll be
said that to you on the phone.
it'll be a fight. Let me
I
tell
know
you.
we gonna duke it out. But
She,
what's the serious importance of a person like that on a person's team for anybody out there that's they're writers watching the show? Tell us about that part.
very important. It's it's hard for you to do the thing that God has called you to do if you're doing all kind of other things that are getting in the way. That's why it's important to have a Tawana. And look, and I mean, I, Tawana is somebody who she loves me and she believes in me and she believes in what I'm doing. And I feel like I don't say it enough, but girl, I appreciate you. Lord, I appreciate you so much because, even with this here, it's stuff that she sees I'm doing, she's going to automatically, well, what about this? Well,
Yeah,
how about that?
yeah,
And she'll take the initiative to, getting it
yeah,
out there. And
yeah,
actually, she's a big part too of why I'm doing this.
yeah.
Um, like I left that out as well, but she's been pushed like, okay, doc, look, she came with my the blog site, like, look, this is the site I created. All you got to do is just start writing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That she sent me a podcast thing, like,
Yeah.
what about this microphone? What about this?
Uh-huh.
So
But
she's pushing me to be the best part that I can
you
be.
said the key word in that she loves you ever did, right? Like most times, let's say a person go and hire somebody to come and do this and this for them. That person only sees it's a job, it's a thing. They don't have any emotional attachment to it the way you do. Because most times, this is our babies.
Yep.
I got 10 books, I got 10 babies, 10 books. This is our babies.
Yep.
But to have a person you find that take it like a baby too, I'm a nurture it, I'm a carry it.
That's
That's
right.
rare to find. That
That's
part, that's rare.
that it is rare. And you know what? It's people knowing what their purpose is. If people would operate in their purpose, the world would be a better place. She is not trying to do what I'm doing. I can't do what she does, but we are both important. If people would understand that and not be competing, Lord, so much more could be attained, so much more. But yes, having somebody like that on your team is a must. And let me tell you this too. And if they're not for you, you need to get rid of them because like she lifts me up and she definitely is helping me get to the higher places. People who are not for you will definitely drag you down. So yeah, that is an absolutely important thing.
Yes. So you have a lot of irons on the fire. You have your foundation. You have other things going on. Tell the audience where could they find you? Where could they purchase your books? Where could they find your foundation? They want to be a part of your classes. You talk about grief and everything.
Yeah.
Give them the 411, my sister.
Okay. All right. So first thing up is I do want to say, when my son passed August 27th, 2019, his birthday is October 7th. And my daughter said we should still celebrate his birthday. And I was like, okay, we can do that. And when we started preparing and this, we're going to do this and this, God put it on my spirit to we can have this foundation and we can pour into the lives of children just like Papa did. So we created the Philip Papa Dauterive the Third Foundation. We call it the PD3 Foundation for short. Every October, and I'm saying it first because October is coming on us. We do a series of things, and our mission is to empower the children. Most people give scholarships to people going off to college. We want to get the kids in their formative years. We want to touch them and pour into their lives. We want to get them exposed to academic opportunities, tutoring services if they need tutoring services. If they are the Einsteins of the school, well, we need to get them into a higher education facility where they can be pushed to their highest potential. Athletes, travel sports is not cheap. We have great athletes who the parents can't afford to send them, but my husband tells me all the time that's where the scouts are. So we want to get them into these travel sports, creative arts. One of my friends, she told me in high school, she was passing by this girl's desk and saw her drawing. She said it was beautiful. And she said, "Girl, who did that?" She said, "Me." She said, "You're kidding." The girl starts flipping through and showing her all kinds of beautiful drawings. And I'm thinking, this girl is in high school. Who missed this? We want to pour into the life. If we can give them the exposure, their lives can be so much different. Instead of the children only seeing what is in their neighborhood or in their home, we want to give them the exposure. So that's why we do all of these events to raise money to pour into the lives of these kids. So for anyone who is interested, we have a daily raffle every day, the month of October. We raffle off a prize, 31 prizes, and every entry can win every day. So if you win on day number one, your name goes back in the pot. So that's what makes our raffle. Yep, you can keep on winning. So we have people who win multiple times, and every gift or every prize is from, it could be from $50 all the way up to like $500. I think has been the range. But if you're interested, you can text PD3 to 33100, and it'll pull up all of the information. We have a Bingo, October 13th at St. Martinville Notre Dame Catholic Church. We also have an extravaganza coming up on November the 9th, which is a semi-formal event where we just, it's a fun live auction and all kinds of things. So yes, please support, because we were able to raise enough money that we gave 31,000 plus last year for scholarships for these kids, and we wanted to be bigger and better every year. So for the grown-ups now, um, those of you who are stuck in a rut, what I do is all about empowering you. So you can find me at drksd.com, and you spell doctor out, doctorksd.com. That's my website, and you'll be able to see the different things I have going on. But I do a free seminar on the first and third Sunday of every month, and you do have to register. I also do an in-person or virtual program called PAVE. It's Persevere, Aspire, Validate, and Empower. So it's a 2-day intensive program, but it gets you started, gets you unstuck, it gets you to cutting off some of them anchors that have been holding you back so that you can live the purposeful life you're supposed to live. And then for those who are like, okay, I need more than 2 days, I have a 12-week program. But these are all programs that are designed to help you figure out what has you stuck. What are you anchored to? We figure it out. We figure out what it's going to take to sever the ties to those anchors. And then we figure out what it's going to take to get you to your next level of greatness, because we were made to be purposeful and to impact lives. So drksd.com has all of that there. My book, of course, is on there, the autograph book, but my book is also on Amazon. And I have merchandise. Live life with purpose, on purpose. Um, but I have a lot of different empowerment merchandise as well. I have a 21-day guided journal that helps people just to get themselves started. Um, my merchandise is all about being impactful and empowering. So you'll see, like I have a shirt that says, "Nah, sis, we will not be matching energies today." Because people like to say, "I'm gonna match that energy." I'm like, I'm not matching energies. Look, I've been sitting up here in my place of peace. I'm not coming play with y'all down here. Nope, I'm not matching the energy at all. So all about empowerment. This has been a wonderful turn of events for me. Going from feeling shattered to now, the devil gets no glory. Not a single day. I will cry it out. Yes, I still cry sometimes. And then I follow it up with a wonderful memory of my baby. And then it just makes me hit the road again, because I want to make sure that I want to free as many people as I can possibly free from all of those chains, and help them to leave that, just walk out the prison door, because it's not locked. It's not locked at all. And we don't have to stay anywhere just because our family is there.
No, not at all. Not at all, man. Again, I am so lucky and blessed that when I'm doing independently, I'm able to really, really highlight books that I really stand behind, really love. I'm not being paid to say this. Nobody's making me say this. I really stand behind this book. I will be talking about it for years to come. As I mean, most of us at an age where we're losing people. A
Yeah.
lot of our elders are getting, older, and just our classmates and things like that. Just we're at a point in life where that happens, right? So this is gonna be important
Oh,
for
yeah.
years to come,
Oh, definitely.
and maybe even a follow up. Who knows? Maybe a
Oh,
follow up book, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
You
I
know,
want, let me say this too. For
yes,
anybody
ma'am.
out there who knows that there is something greater, you know that you should be doing something greater. Your dreams, you know you're not living the life that you've dreamed of. This is for you, because the Bible tells us that God will give us the desires of our hearts. Not that you're gonna conjure up something and then the Lord is like some kind of puppet, just like, okay, I'm going, yeah, let me. God don't operate like that. But what He does is, the reason He created you, Those are the desires that you have. If you know you are settling, you settled for a life that you did not dream of having, this is for you. Because there is that life you dreamed of is waiting for, it's an unopened present, just waiting on you to open it. You just need the right tools to open it. Because it's still yours to take possession of if you go after it.
That's right. That's right. You heard it here first, people. You heard it here first. Thank you so much for coming to the show, Dr. Kimberly. I look
You
forward to working with you in the future. And anything else you write, I love to have returning guests. I'm always inviting people to come back.
absolutely.
Please don't think to yourself, oh, I went to show on already. Like, no. Come on back and bring up that some more of your work. As you're doing more things, the foundation, other things you're doing, come back and just we can just talk and have some good conversation, man. So thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sister Tawana, for the contact and for
Yes.
looking out. And I will see y'all next time, real soon on Sean P. Experience. Peace.